Well, good morning, and thank you all for being here for our second Veterans Roundtable. I'm very pleased to be with you on a Monday morning. It's a good way to start the week. I'm Senator Tom Croce. I'm joined by my colleagues to my left, Senator Marty Golden, Senator Rich Funke, and to my right, Senator Todd Kaminsky, who will be joining the committee, Homeland Security, Military, and Veterans Affairs. I would like to start, as we always do these committee meetings, with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would please rise. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And it's a little tradition that we do back at home, but instead of moments of silence, we like to do a round of applause for all of our veterans who are serving overseas, defending our right to be here. So if you join me in a round of applause. Please be seated. So briefly, I wanted to, before we introduce all of our guests who have joined us today, I want to thank you for being participants, those of you who were here at the last roundtable. I think it was very productive, and what the pledge was we were not going to sit in a room and talk about things and there be no follow-on action. So I'm pleased to report that out of our hearing, our roundtable, we were able to get 3 pieces of legislation crafted working with the participants in this room. So things that will truly help the lives of our veterans in New York State in all the different areas that we covered, all the different parts of their lives that we thought would help them get home and get back into society. So we're very pleased that we were able to introduce a piece of legislation that requires a Division of Veterans Affairs to establish a resume writing assistance program, a piece of legislation that mandates civil service set aside 500 state positions for service-disabled veterans, and a bill establishing a veteran employment task force to make recommendations to the state legislature. So these are real pieces of legislation that all of you helped to construct, and I want to thank you again for all of your participation and support, both at the legislative roundtable, but also the staff work that went on behind the scenes, and I'll get to the staff in a minute. Today's conversations are going to focus on other topics that this roundtable has decided we should be highlighting, and that is on housing and tax policies that are impacting our veterans. New York is not easy to live in. It's a state that has become increasingly more difficult to live. We have a vested interest in getting veterans to come back to New York. Those are the kind of people that we want in our communities, helping to lead our communities. And they have valuable experiences, and we want the veterans who have retired in New York to have a little easier time of it too. So that was what was teed up by the roundtable, and I'm very happy to be able to join you today to go through those issues. And then we will again send an after-action report, and then we will ensure that it leads to good legislation. We're joined by Senator Rob Ort. Rob and Marty and I are a couple of the veterans on the Senate side, so I'm pleased to be joined by, I'm actually flanked by the Army now, it looks like, both by Rob and by Marty. Yeah. But thank you, Senator Ort, for being here and all the work that you've done in your committee to ensure that post-traumatic stress disorder gets the requisite attention and resources in this state, so thank you. With that, I'd like to go around the room and allow all of you to introduce yourselves. I'm going to start with the members of the legislature if they would like to make brief opening remarks. We'll start with the senior-most member of the delegation in seniority, Senator Marty Golden.
There you go again, Chairman, picking on my age. I'm glad to see so many of you here today. This, I believe, is the impetus for getting anything accomplished in Albany, is when you come in numbers and you present the issues, and we are forced to listen. When I say us, I mean our bodies, both in the Legislative Assembly and in the Legislative Senate, and that's how we get legislation done here. I got to tell you, it's pretty sad. I come from the city of New York. I got Fort Hamilton Army Base. I have the VA hospital. I have some great institutions in my community. community, the second oldest institution in the country. I got to tell you, I have homelessness that's unbelievable, and I come from one of the better communities in the great city of New York, and 40% of my homeless are veterans. And the reason I have 40% veterans is because they feel safe. It's because it's a safe community. It's the last stop at most of the trains and the buses, and it's close to Fort Hamilton, and they feel safe at that Fort Hamilton Army base, but they also are close to the VA hospital, and they can get their medical, and they can get whatever needs they need, including a good meal when they need it. That's not the way to live. That's not the way to turn around and have to live after you've served this great nation, the greatest nation in the world. We buried a 90-year-old man who died under an overpass because he was homeless, 90 years of age, 7 years ago. It's sad, it shouldn't happen, and that's the reason for this hearing here today, is to make sure that we deal with issues such as homelessness, such as housing, such as being able to live and stay in this great city and in this great state. So I thank you, Mr. Chairman, I thank my colleagues, and I thank all of you for being here today. But the goal here is to get something done. The goal here at the end of this day is to make sure that we pass legislation that is good for our veterans across this great state. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Funke?
Thank you, Senator Croce. I'm from the 55th District, which runs from Irondequoit through the city of Rochester, Monroe County, and down into Ontario County. I'm very proud to represent in my district the Veterans Outreach Center in Rochester, which is a tremendous resource for me and for veterans in our community. Right next door to that facility is a facility for homeless vets. Veterans Outreach Center does a tremendous job. As I said, been a great resource with plenty of ideas. I'm also flanked on either side of my district by 2 VA hospitals, and there's a tremendous work underway also to create a new veteran cemetery in our region. So I'm here to listen to your concerns and respond to your concerns to the very best of my ability for the many veterans who are in the 55th State Senate District. So I thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Senator Funke. Senator Ort?
Just real quick, I would like to thank all of you for being here. I was at the last roundtable, and I thought it was very productive from a conversation standpoint, highlighting some of the issues. I want to thank Senator Croce for putting these together. I think it's important for us to hear from you. I do think it's also important that you have veterans from the recent conflicts in the legislature, because I think there's an empathy and an understanding. We've been in your shoes, we've walked in your boots, we've been in combat, we have friends who struggle with some of the same challenges that we see on a daily basis. Having said that, I don't think anyone has a monopoly on wanting to help veterans. I think there's a lot of folks who didn't serve but certainly want to help our veterans. And our veterans, as you all know, deal with the same issues that the rest of New Yorkers deal with, whether it's homelessness, whether it's mental health related issues, whether it's drug addiction, whether it's finding good paying jobs to stay here in New York and raise a family. All those things our veterans community deals with, but sometimes they don't talk about it as much because we're taught, of course, in the military to suck it up and drive on. And that's great when you're fighting a war. It doesn't always work when you come home in civilian life. Sometimes you gotta, ask for help, seek help, and a lot of it is pointing our veterans towards programs and towards services that are there, but a lot of times they don't know that it's there, or it's very Byzantine trying to get through the bureaucratic process. But hopefully out of this comes some meaningful legislation, meaningful reforms, and I always learn something new talking to many of you about challenges that our veterans or your organizations face that might not be apparent to us here in Albany. For those who don't know, I represent the 62nd District, which is all of Niagara County, Orleans County, and a little piece of Monroe County. Or as my friends from Long Island think, I represent part of Canada, but that's okay. But it's certainly a pleasure to continue to support our veterans now that I'm out of uniform, and I thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you, Senator Ort. Senator Kaminsky?
Thank you all for coming. Obviously, homelessness with our veteran population is an absolute tragedy. The fact that we go on every day living with it is just, people don't talk about it, is just, I think, inexplicable. And so I'm happy to try to be here with you to tackle that problem and put our minds together and see what we could do. And I really thank the chairman for organizing this. It's incredibly important. And any way any of you think that we could be helpful going forward, I'm interested in rolling up my sleeves and helping you do that. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And Senator Joe Adabo, who is our ranking minority member on the committee, sends his regrets. He's down in the district. He'll be up here later for session. But Senator Dabo and I are, shoulder to shoulder on these issues. In our committee, politics ends at the front door. There are certain things that transcend, and Senator Dabo and I consider him a co-chair of the committee because he really has tirelessly worked for the interests of veterans in the state long before I got to the Senate, Senator Dabo. So I'm pleased that he's the ranker, and his presence is here in spirit. I think I'd like to go around the room and have you briefly introduce yourselves, as we did the last time. And I know that then we'll jump right into the issues and start working on it. So I'll start at my right with Chuck.
Good morning, everybody. I'm sort of coming in here on the second round. Many of you have probably been here in the first. Thank you for allowing me to do this. I'll be speaking on behalf of Patriot Hills of New York. It's an organization that's dedicated to the transition, reintegration, therapeutic healing of our veterans. And I'll be speaking later, of course, to a program we have that we're trying to get off the ground. It's actually gaining some genesis, and I'll expand a little more on that. I was a veteran of 41 years total service, and saw many of the sacrifices made by all veterans, whatever branch of service that was. And just this past week at the Invictus Games, Master Sergeant Israel Del Toro had one of the opening speeches. IED survivor of Afghanistan, just to see that poor man be able to compete in a game, let alone do the things that he does, is just amazing. But that's the obvious. You can see that in him. And as the panel's already stated, there's so many, the homeless, the PTSD veterans. There's so many others that aren't obvious and are out there. And I am so grateful that Senator Croce allows this roundtable to take place and to address those issues. And I'm grateful that he allowed me to be here today. So thank you so much.
Chuck. John?
Yes, good morning, Senator Croce, and good morning, Senators. First, I'd like to thank you for your service to our country, and the same to you, Senator Ward. Thank you very much. My name is John Lewis. I'm the co-chairman for the Veterans of Foreign Wars Department of New York. Thank you again for the invitation to return to today's discussions, very important discussions. And with that said, our lobbyist, Kirby Ham.
I'm the legislative coordinator. I've been around here for about 40-some-odd years as a lobbyist, but my passion is the legislative coordinator for the VFW. I am a Vietnam-era vet, 65 to 69, but the point that I'm learning every single day was one that I think Senator Hort made, and that is that we have to continually absorb the challenges that are facing the younger veterans returning. And so that's why I'm pleased to be here, and I want to thank you for this opportunity to be here.
Certainly. Sir?
I'm Bob Becker, retired First Sergeant in the Marine Corps, and also represent 31 veteran organizations in the state of New York. And we're here to serve our veterans and work with our leaders to make sure that they take care of them. So
I'm glad we have
we have our issue, and we do all our issues that we put out every year. So we thank you. Thank you all for working with us.
Very glad to have the Marine Corps represented today. Thank you.
Our style is hard to be humble when you're the finest.
Jim?
Good morning. I'm Jim McGovern. I'm here representing the Department of Taxation and Finance. I'm a real property analyst in the Office of Tax Policy Analysis, and I'm here to facilitate discussion on real property tax exemptions available to veterans.
Excellent. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Eric Hesse. I'm the State Director for the Division of Veterans Affairs, and again, I appreciate your hosting another one of these roundtables. The point I'll always try to make is we have to figure out how to be more inclusive for all our veterans and focus on all the generations of veterans that we have, and just continue to make that point. But thank you.
Hi, Hattie Baldwin, member of the John Jennings panel on Long Island. Started the Joseph Dwyer Peer Support Program. Thank you for the invitation.
So the genesis of the statewide Dwyer program, which is expanding and been very successful in New York and has led to a model that has currently been proposed in the House of Representatives to go nationwide, peer-to-peer support, peer-to-peer help, came out of Hattie and a lot of people sitting around the table back in the 3rd Senate District in the John Jennings panel, named after a dear friend to all. And it's something that we should be very proud of, that in Suffolk County, which has the largest population of veterans in the state of New York and the second largest population of any county in the United States, that this has come from the county. And Hattie, I want to thank you for continuing to be an advocate and for coming up. I think you've traveled the furthest to get here today, so thank you. Chris?
Thank you very much, Senator Croce, and members of the committee, for allowing me the opportunity to talk about housing resources that New York State Homes and Community Renewal has available to veterans. I look very much forward to participating. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you. Sherry?
I'm Sherry Eccles, and I'd also like to thank you. My dad is a Vietnam veteran, so this is a topic very near and dear to my heart. And I work for Sunny May, which is a division of Homes and Community Renewal focused on home ownership. So I'm looking forward to talking about the veterans programs available.
Excellent. Thank you. And Beth?
Good morning. My name is Beth Gabellini. I am the Regional Director for Services for the Underserved, running the Long Island Division. Since October 2013, we have helped over 1,000 veterans of all different eras on Long Island who are either homeless or at risk for becoming homeless. We're very proud of that. And we look forward to shedding some more light on the programs that we run. And thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to be here.
Thank you. Marlo?
Thank you, Senators. My name is Marlo Paventi. I am the Deputy Program Director for Services for the Underserved's SSVF program. I work with Beth, and I enjoyed the last roundtable. That's why I'm here a second time, so much so that I brought Beth, because I think that this is going to be a great working group.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hello, how you doing? My name is Robert O'Donnell. I represent EOC of Suffolk. It's Suffolk County's Community Action Agency, anti-poverty agency. EOC of Suffolk, we've served over 10,000 individuals, low income, in Suffolk County, majority of them being veterans. I'm here to discuss the SSVF program, Supportive Service for Veteran Families. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And we ended on that side of the room. I think we're going to start back up there because we're going to talk a little about housing, the first topic on our agenda today. And with that, I'd like Chris, if you would give us a little background about the programs and what we're looking for, or where are the gaps, as we did in the last roundtable, so that we can address them legislatively. And if it's not a matter of legislation, how we direct resources to those areas. So if you can, in your discussions, if you could please identify what gaps, if any, or what resources, if any, would be needed, so that it kind of cues the legislators up here on how we come up with some decent legislation to address the problem as we did in the previous one. So we'll start with Chris Leo at Office of Community Renewal.
Great. Again, Senator Croce, thank you for the opportunity to be here. My name is Chris Leo. I'm the president of the Office of Community Renewal. We are one of 4 major program offices at the larger Homes and Community Renewal. As you might suspect from the name, this agency focuses primarily on the production and preservation of housing units for New York's low to moderate income individuals. While we have a wide array of activities, the office I work for is almost solely restricted to working on smaller homes, 1 to 4 units, which constitute a large part of our population. The Office of Community Renewal administers a portfolio of state and federally funded housing programs that may be used to help with down payment assistance. It may be used if you're a homeowner. It can help you fix your home. We can help purchase homes, and we also help landlords and those who rent their units. So it's a fairly wide spread of activities that we can help assist with. Our funding, due to the funding sources, both federal and state, are primarily directed to New Yorkers making roughly 80% of the area median income. So if you're looking at perhaps rural parts of New York, for a single person, that would be $30,000 to $35,000. Downstate and more expensive areas, it could be around $50,000 or $60,000, and that's just for a single family. If you have a larger single person, for a larger family, those income levels do get higher. We are not a retail organization, so we don't work directly with person who would be benefiting from assistance, so in this case, veterans. We do rely on not-for-profits throughout the state and units of local government to help us administer the funds that we make available. So I live here in Albany, I work in Albany. I do not know what the issues are necessarily on Suffolk County or in Chemung. We really rely on local experts, those who have a familiar working knowledge with the issues that they apply to us for, to expertly distribute the funds that we have available. I'm pleased to announce that this year we have close to $50 million that will be available for various housing activities throughout the state. You will start to see some announcements at the end of June for programs that we will put out for a competitive application process. And I'd invite those of you who either work for not-for-profits or may represent units of local government to apply for these programs. Veterans are certainly eligible to apply for any of the programs that we'll be announcing over the next couple of months. But we do have one program called the Access to Home for Veterans program that was a Senate initiative that was proposed and included in the 15-16 budget that I would like to highlight today. The Access to Home program provides assistance with the cost of adapting residences of veterans with disabilities so that they can live safely and comfortably in their homes. You know, God forbid, if you do are a veteran with disabilities, we would like you to have the honor of living in your home, and if there are any types of improvements that we can make to that home that would enable you to stay there, that's what this program is designed to do. So we are, again, focusing on physical alterations. We're not a social service provision type of organization, but we can and frequently do install wheelchair ramps or lifts. We can widen doorways, improve access to bathrooms, kitchen modifications, bedroom, bathroom relocations. Basically, it's any type of physical alteration to the home that a veteran lives in or rents. We can find a way to make improvements to help you stay in the home. This year, we will have roughly $6 million that will be available to award to communities. The grant sizes would generally be in the range of $200,000 to $300,000. And again, all you would need to do would be to find a not-for-profit or a unit of local government to apply to the state for the funding. It's an online application. We'll go through a review process, and then we contract with the entity that applies. The local entity is responsible for making sure that the veterans who need the help get that help. So what we would hope be a follow-up from this meeting is outreach. We think this is a very successful program. We would be more than happy to speak to any of the veterans organizations that might be interested. If you live in a certain area that may not have a veterans organization, we'll try and link you up with a not-for-profit. If there's no not-for-profit, we'll work with units of local government to make sure that they have all the information that they need to submit an application to get these funds out into the community. So again, if there is any type of distribution list, I'd be happy to send the announcement of our NOFA out, Senator Croce, to any of the organizations that you think might benefit from this program. And just with the schedule, if we announce the program, and I'm confident we will announce it by the end of this month. There'll be a 4-month application period, and we'll look to make awards this December. So come January, we can start getting the funding out to those who need it most. So that's a brief summary and I'm sorry, one benefit of the Veterans Program that was part of the Senate proposal that was approved last year is the income level, where we can go up to 120%. So where our other programs cap the limits at 80%, we thought it was well worth it to provide that extra flexibility for the program.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely. Senator Golden.
It might be in your area, you're in Suffolk County, and it may not pertain to you, but it may pertain to others at the table here. You know, hundreds of us, or I should say many of us, have hundreds of people that are out of their homes still from Sandy. Mm-hmm. I have thousands. Of them, I have a large number of veterans. Now, I got young men and women, post-traumatic stress. They're at their wits' end. It's almost 4 years. Mm-hmm. Are you able to help that group in any way?
I don't work for the department that administers that program, but I can certainly take that message back. But yes, we can work with those residents. We have other programming that might be able to help with down payment assistance, or I think the most desirable thing would be to help facilitate the movement of the Sandy recovery funds. But they're not excluded from applying for any of these programs, nor are the not-for-profits that serve Suffolk County.
Some of them, most of them are not know about the program, A, and
Yes.
B, aren't have the ability to access the program. So I'm going to take some of your information and see if we can be
Absolutely,
somewhat
sir.
helpful to the Brooklyn, Queens areas and Staten Island areas.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And on the Marine Corps line, Senator Sanders has joined us. Thank you for being here. Senator Sanders?
Good to be here, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure if Senator Golden had raised a similar or the same question. My question had to do with any special initiatives to help veterans recover from Sandy and Sandy-related problems.
Yeah, the DR funds were received, disaster recovery funds were received from the federal government to assist with the recovery efforts. I understand that it has been some years now. I do not work for that office, but I can certainly get back to the person who does, and if I need to link you to the head of the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery, I can certainly do that.
I would appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Before we go to Ms. Eccles, many of us in our homes have a problem with what we call at the municipal level on Long Island, vacant unsecured homes or zombie homes. We have had success, albeit difficult at the local level, of getting these properties into the hands of charities that then turn it over and put a veteran and his family or her family in that home. It'd be nice if in our conversations going forward, we find a way to do this to make it easier and faster at the state level to take some of these vacant unsecured homes, turn them over to veterans at a reasonable cost, and get them back on the tax rolls, which is good for the local municipality. And it's great to have veterans in these communities. So hopefully we work towards that at the state level at some point. Ms. Eccles?
Thank you very much, Senator Croce. Thank you all again for the opportunity to speak. Sunny Mae is the state of New York mortgage agency, and our mission is to provide homeownership opportunities to low and moderate income buyers in New York State that may not otherwise be able to afford a home. So our goal is to overcome the barriers to homeownership, one of the largest in New York State being the accumulation of a down payment because it's so expensive to rent throughout the state. So we have put in place, starting in 2007, we had a program called the Homes for Veterans Mortgage. And this program, the way that Sunny Mae loans are built is that based on the borrower's income, they could be eligible for either our Achieving the Dream program, which is our lowest interest rate, or the slightly higher interest rate, which is the low interest rate program. So 80% of AMI and lower would be Achieving the Dream, and up to 115% is low interest rate. We actually allow veterans to use our Achieving the Dream interest rate regardless of what their income is. In addition to that, there's a slight interest rate bump for borrowers that want to take advantage of a down payment assistance program that we have for home buyers. And this is really, it's utilized by over 50% of our buyers. It's really been a huge benefit to people, enabling people to get into homes that they otherwise might not be able to. And for veterans, they can access that down payment assistance with no increase to their rate. So they get the lowest rate regardless of their AMI, and they also get no increase for down payment assistance. The federal program that's available for veterans is actually very strong. It's a 100% loan to value, and they have a funding fee that they pay so that they don't have any monthly expense for mortgage insurance. Our program is 97 LTV, and there is a mortgage insurance. So it's seen somewhat limited utility because of the fact that it doesn't, when you set it side by side with the federal program, it's not favorable to most veterans. But there are a couple of areas that we fulfill a niche. For example, the federal program is not available for active duty veterans, and there's also a 6-year wait for National Guard unless they've been activated and been active duty for at least 90 days. We allow active duty military to be eligible for the program as well. Given the climate and the uncertainty for most of the people who are enlisted right now, that has also seen limited application because people don't know where they're going to be really to be able to be in a position to purchase a home. So we stepped back and tried to evaluate other areas that we could fulfill a niche that the federal program may not be fulfilling. And the largest of that is on the renovation lending side. For example, a lot of veterans are in positions that they need to purchase a home that requires repairs. And under the federal program, there's no way to pay for those unless they're using their cash or charging them up on credit cards. And clearly, if you're a veteran purchasing a home and you're using all your cash to fix it up, that means you're charging your furniture and your shower curtains and your bath mats. And all of that is high interest rate, not tax deductible, et cetera. So we want to try to avoid putting anyone in that position. So we created the Remodel New York for Veterans program. And this is a new program, and we launched it statewide within the last couple of months. And essentially what it does is allows the borrower to finance the cost of repairs into the mortgage based on what the house will be worth once it's finished. So if they're buying a house for $150,000 and it needs a new furnace and a new roof, it's going to cost them about $20,000. We base their loan amount on that $170,000 total acquisition as opposed to the straight purchase price. And being able to finance those repairs keeps them, again, from having to pay high interest rate credit card debt that's not tax deductible and puts it into our lowest interest rate mortgage taxes. Our mortgage interest is tax deductible, so it gives them that benefit.
That's a new program?
It is, yes. So, and it's actually the only one in the country that's administered by a state agency. So we work with lender partners to actually originate our loans. They sit down with the veterans and they'll take a mortgage application and process it. But Alaska has a program similar, but they've seen it limited in terms of its use because banks have to take that post-closing money and handle the ordering of the inspection, disbursement of checks, and a lot of banks don't have that infrastructure. So it limits the number of companies that can actually offer it. So what we've done in order to allow our entire participating network to participate is we have said, once you close the loan, we will handle the inspections, the checks, the title updates, all the other kinds of legwork so that all of our lenders have access to the program. That increases the veterans that have access to the program. And so really our biggest barrier in getting this out there has been being able to get everybody educated on it. So we've been participating in yellow ribbon events for the last couple of years. And we've got people that, both pre and post deployment have conversations, but clearly when they're going table to table and hearing about all the different services that are available, it's difficult to really understand the full impact of the benefit that's available. So we would like opportunities to get in front of larger audiences or more dedicated conversations to be able to really make people aware of what's available. And there's also some ways that we could tweak the program to make it better. For example, people who are already in homes would benefit from being able to refinance, which is not something that we have the capability right now under Sunny May, yes.
What are your numbers? In other words, how many people have availed themselves of the programs you're speaking of?
So far, there's only been a handful that have taken advantage of the program because it's so new and it does take time to get work write-ups and things like that. In the last 2.5 years, we've only seen 112 veterans take advantage of the Homes for Veterans program on its own. And then this Remodel New York component is very new. So there's not really any hard number.
Do you have pamphlets, like if we're at a fair and we got a table up or something like
yes,
that?
Yes, I brought a whole stack of both the Homes for Veterans and the remodel, so I'd be happy to hand them out to you. And if you have any future events, I can send you more.
And if we're just having local veterans events, it's possible that you would be able to send someone down to Long Island to speak to them?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. We have 3 representatives that cover the state as well as myself, so we've really tried to make sure that we're present at all the different veterans events where we're invited. And one other program that I wanted to talk about is we have well, actually, there's 2. We have the Neighborhood Revitalization Program, which is something that was recently set aside as a result of the 15-16 budget as well. It was the use of Chase settlement funds. And essentially what we had done is try to address the vacant and abandoned property program. So we partnered with nonprofits, and actually one of our litmus tests was we were also looking for partners that were approved with AHC, because what this program is designed to do is take a vacant and abandoned home and allow someone to purchase it, get $20,000 to cover any gap between what the cost of buying it and fixing it up will be and what it's worth once it's finished. So to back that up and put it in numbers, if they're buying a house for $150,000 and it's going to cost them $50,000 to fix it up, they're spending $200,000 on a house that may only be worth $180,000 when it's finished. And in a lot of cases, these houses, especially down in the Sandy area, are in need of such repair because of mold and other deterioration that's occurred that that gap is necessary, and we really need to incent people. So the program was created to address those properties, and then in situations where the gap exceeds $20,000, because we're in areas where we're partnering with AHC, the nonprofits have the availability of funds to be able to bridge a higher gap. So for example, if the house that I was just describing came in costing $200,000 in total and was only worth $160,000, 20 could come from us, and then a nonprofit in the area could reach out to AHC for the additional 20 to bridge that gap. The areas that we selected for this program and the criteria depended on how hard hit they were by the foreclosure crisis, the presence of partners that would enable us to be positioned for success in terms of nonprofits, realtors, and other agencies. The communities selected were Troy, New York, Kingston, Middletown, Rochester, and all of Long Island. So I've been down to Long Island a couple times meeting with the nonprofit agencies down there. We've been out in all the different communities. Oh, and also we did community districts 12 and 13 in New York City. So we're covering a portion of Queens as well. And this is a program that we're hoping will see additional funding as years go on, because obviously the Chase settlement funds are a finite resource. And so that's something we are hoping we'll be able to. We're anticipating about 475 vacant and abandoned homes will be taken care of with that. And definitely the nonprofits that we're working with are working very closely in conjunction with veterans organizations and potential home buyers that are veterans that would benefit from awareness of this program. And then we also have limited resources for a program that's being done with Habitat for Humanity. It's a 2% fixed rate mortgage that we offer. And what it's essentially enabled Habitat to do is increase their capacity, because most people who are buying a home and they're using Habitat resources have no mortgage or a 0% mortgage. And so Habitat, because they were lending their own money at 0%, had limited capacity in that regard. So we partnered with them in New York State to offer a 2% mortgage, enabling them to increase the amount of loans that they can do. Right now, because funds are limited for that, we are only able to do $5 million a year with them. And they have really started moving in some positive directions. For example, here in Albany, they did what they called their flagship Rehabitat. It was their first fixer-upper, so to speak. And it was a two-family on Lark Street. Both families that were purchasing the home were veterans that had put sweat equity into it. And it was geared specifically towards that population. So to enable us to have additional capacity in that program would be a real benefit. And just because, again, the mechanisms are already in place to help veterans in those programs. And so the more funding we can get to be able to increase capacity there would be helpful.
Well, thank you. Senator Orton?
And you forgive my naivete. I know how the federal, VA loan mortgage works in that program. So these programs you're talking about, I mean, are they, you said you work with lenders. So are the lenders providing the money and it's collateralized or subsidized by the state, or how does that?
So the way that most mortgage programs work is that a loan is originated by a lender and sold into the secondary market.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially what we're doing is providing a secondary market for these programs. So the lenders are originating to our guidelines and we buy the loan after it's closed.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Sorry, thanks. Senator Sanders.
Senator Golden, then Senator Sanders.
Oh, sorry.
One quick question. The 12 and 13, the districts you're working at, Queens, I gather?
Yes.
Okay, you're not in Brooklyn at all?
We're not yet.
Okay.
We're
Staten
hoping to
Island.
expand if we get additional funding.